will change our flag.
Going to call Clayton Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr Chair, to have this opportunity to rise on behalf of New Zealand First to speak in this committee stage of the flag referendums bill. I've had great pleasure in listening to Trevor Mallard and my colleague Dennis O'Rourke, but listening initially to Maggie Barry, who's got the sweetest voice to listen to be honest. If you're going to listen to rubbish, it's good to listen to it from somebody who's got that great voice for radio. I have to say, however, she has got an IQ of an ice cream cone if she thinks that New Zealanders are going to be confused by adding a New Zealand flag into the first of the referendums. Now, I take the point of Chris Bishop, who says that, that this is going to be imbalanced and impartial to what New Zealanders are expecting when we put the New Zealand flag up into the final discussion point. But I have to read out something here from a submitter here from the RSA, who actually sums it up quite nicely. The substantial budget given to the alternative flag is intended to weigh heavily in its favour when the referendum is held. No funding has been allocated to champion the existing New Zealand flag, which therefore presents difficulties for people in making an informed and objective decision. Now that to me sums it up quite nicely, Mr Bishop. All of a sudden, your weight of your party and your leader is pushing this referendum through at the expense of the Kiwis, and I suggest the vast majority of New Zealanders that don't want this referendum. We can't afford it, it's not the right time, it's not the right place. I would also like to say that New Zealand First is the only party and has been the only party to actively stand against this in its entirety. We don't have divisions in our ranks against this referendum that's been put in front of us. New Zealand First says that it is inappropriate to have a new flag put for us. Now, two parts to this. The purpose in part one, and talking about part three, is my take on it. Something that everybody's raised is the Vanity Fair of the John Key's government, who are pushing for this for his own impersonal ingratiation, if you like, when it would be a good idea, as it's been pointed out by Jacinda Ardern, to have it in the 2017 election if you really care for it. The problem is, of course, John Key knows, along with National, that the likelihood of you being in government, Mr Chair, of this party being in government at the 2017 election is going to be very, very minuscule. And therefore, having a referendum in the next general election is going to weigh heavily on his mind of whether or not it can be put through or not. The second point in purpose, and the third part three in the purpose, is the sleight of hand. The actual purpose of this, having the referendum, is to create a fugazi, all right? A little bit of something happening over here, when in actual fact what's going on, we've got bigger issues like the TPPA, the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, which is coming through this week, but my word, we're going through almost an urgency to put the three parts of the final stages of this referendum to try and create headlines to take away what is actually going on in this country as our sovereignty being sold off. Now, we are 100% as a party supportive of making sure that we have a trade agreement, but your ISDS provisions...
Order. We're out of scope. Just concentrate on what's in front of us. Clayton Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I thought I was pushing it a little bit. I will bring it right back in. But you get my point, people. This is exactly what's going on. The point here, Mr Chair, is we've got $26 million of a referendum going into when we've got far more important issues that need to be addressed. When we've got things like unaffordable housing, when we've got our issues of our housing stock in this country that are so abysmally upheld in such a state. It's coming back to the purpose, Mr Chair. That $26 million will bring in around 900 houses and they're upgrading. That's a far better spending of New Zealand taxpayers' money than on a referendum for a flag. Of course, it would give around about 1,400 hip replacements to the people that need those replacements the most. That, I would suggest, is far more important than a referendum of a flag. That the polls, by the way, are saying absolutely outstandingly that we do not want this referendum. Many people in this country have stood by, myself included as a young schoolboy, watching our flag go up on our school grounds, singing our national anthem with pride. Our return service people, the people that are out of our country at the moment, overseas, who are standing by that national flag. Now, I would hate to think, Mr Mitchell, Mark Mitchell that is, what are you going to do with your tattoo that you've got on your heart, or is it on your shoulder? I can't remember. You'll have to change the New Zealand flag if the referendum goes through, which we don't think for a second will actually happen. A lot of New Zealanders have tagged themselves with this very iconic flag, Mr Chair.
The Honourable Nikki Kay.